When you're working with acrylic paint, you'll be using a paint tray and squeezing some of the paint out onto the tray. You do not need more than a dime size amount of paint. You can always add more. It's hard to put it back into the jar. And we will be working with just the 3 primary colors, which we'll be using to mix all the other colors. Make sure that you clean off the mouths to the jars so that when you shut them, they shut tightly. All right, so I have primary blue, primary yellow, and primary red here. You want a nice selection of brushes. I like to have a round, a little bit larger round, and a flat. When you are ready to paint, you mix the colors by blending the two together, either in your tray or on your canvas. I like to blend on my canvas, but some people like to blend in the tray. In order to mix paint, you need to have a ratio of one color to another, keeping in mind always start with the lighter color and then add in the darker color. So if I do that, and then I grab just a little bit of blue and I paint that with it, you can see that I get a very deep green. Now, if I start with the blue and try to add yellow, it'll take me forever to get to where I need to be green. So what I'll do is I'll paint in, get my color made. When I rinse out my brush, you have 2 sides. You have this side and you have this side. I like to rinse on this side because I can rub my bristles along the bottom. And then this is the side that I like to keep for clean water and to rest my brushes in there. Never let your acrylic paint brush sit out with paint on it. It will dry and it will ruin the brush. Acrylic paint is permanent. It will not come out of clothing unless you get to it right away. So now I'm going to take even a littler bit of that. You can see that I got barely any blue paint on there. And I'm going to mix that. And I'm going to get this color. I like to mix right on the canvas. I feel like you get a lot more variation. Some people like to mix up ahead of time if they know that they're going to use a lot of one color and then add just a little bit more of the one to the other. They can go ahead and do that. Rinse your brush when you're ready to change colors. Dry it off with a paper towel so that you don't put a lot of water into the paint. So that's how I created a darker green and a lighter green using the primary yellow and the primary blue. Now I'm going to start with the primary yellow. And mixing on the canvas, you have to do it with the paint still wet. Get a little bit of the red, mix that in there, and you can see that you can get kind of a nice orange. It can be rather thin, so sometimes I do like to make a couple of layers. Paint one layer, come back, grab a little bit more of this color, add more in. Grab a little bit more of that color. And here I have a nice yellow orange. And then the last one would be red and blue to create a violet color. Again, washing my brush out, drying it off. I would start with the red because the red has less dense color. It is not as a dense hue. And then I would grab a little bit of the blue, being careful not to grab the part where you maybe put in some yellow, otherwise you're going to end up with brown. Mix brown, yellow, and you mix yellow, red, and blue together to get brown. So there's my violet. This is more of a blue violet now. If I add some more red to it, I'm going to have to add a lot more red. You can see that when you try to put red on top, it becomes more difficult. But it looks more like a red violet. And there is my violet color. So by using the 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, you can create the colors of the color wheel. Now I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, tiny bit of blue, and a tiny bit of red. And I'm going to stir them all up, and hopefully I'll get a nice brown. Looks a lot greener than I'd like it to look, so I'll probably add a little bit more red. If you add the complement to a color, it dulls down the color, so the complement of green is red. And then I can get that color right there. And you can see that I have a nice brown. Now I'm painting this on very thinly. When I do acrylic paint, I like to use nice thick layers so I get a nice good coverage. I don't like the canvas to show through. So if I were going to actually need this brown, I would probably make myself up a nice batch of it and then use it and add other colors to it.